Some might. Alright, so, our essential question for today is what is the relationship between the side lengths of a right triangle and how can we find a missing side length using the Pythagorean Theorem? So the Pythagorean Theorem is used only on right triangles and it's used to find out a missing side length. You know you have a right triangle when you have a right angle. If you look directly across from the right angle, that is always your longest side. Sorry, you can zoom in a bit. The longest side of a right triangle is always across from the right angle. And can someone raise your hand and tell me what that side is called? Floor?
Wait, what? The longest?
Yeah, what this side is called.
It's called the longest side.
Nope, Chris? The hypotenuse.
What? I didn't even know that. Oh my god. I knew that. That's not like a freaking French word.
So, the hypotenuse of a right triangle is the longest side across from the right angle. The special side.
Yeah, that's why it has a
Can someone else tell me what A and B are called? It starts with an L. Camden?
Lore.
Carson? Close. Lore?
Lore.
No.
Let's just leave it. Hypotenuse.
No.
Lateral. I don't even know.
Here's a hint. You have two of them on your body.
Legs.
Tyler? Legs. So A and B are called legs.
Oh my god.
And you can remember that because they make up an L on a right triangle. L for leg.
But whose leg goes
That's small.
And there's my two legs. Right angle. Give me one.
Because he raised his hand. Okay. Can someone tell me what the Pythagorean Theorem is that isn't Chris? Karsten? Perfect. A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
Oh yeah, I saw this on night school.
What shape is a square?
Square.
Oh, a square is a square.
I said it first.
So,
Whoa, buddy.
Hello.
here's a right triangle that has a side length of 3. Here's a square that has side lengths of 3. This is what A squared means. You don't have this. This is your visual. This is what A squared means. It is a square that has a length of this leg. So A squared. Length of 3, A squared is 9. Here's a square of the leg of B. This has a length of 4. The square has an area of 16. So 9 plus 16 equals 25. And that's what this square is, so this side length is 5.
Oh, that's smart.
Okay, so this is how we say this in words. The square of the hypotenuse. So this is a square on the hypotenuse. This is your hypotenuse. This is its square. C squared is equal to the sum, we're going to add these together, of the lengths of the legs. Or the sum of the square of the lengths of the legs. So the square on the hypotenuse is the same as these squares added together. And that's all that this stuff means down here.
Wait, are you always trying to find the length of the hypotenuse or not?
No. Not always. Sometimes you're looking for a length of the leg. So, in a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse, so that was this one, this square, the square that you draw on that side, is equal to the sum, that's why we're adding them together, of the squares on the legs. And that's very wordy and very confusing. Yeah, it makes sense. It's confusing. You probably couldn't come up with it yourself. That's how you would translate this, though. Sit down. So, 5, 12, 13, that's called a Pythagorean triple because these lengths of the right triangle are all integers. It's special, 5, 12, 13. 7, 24, 25, that's another Pythagorean triple. 3, 4, 5, that's another Pythagorean triple. Those are things that is useful to have memorized. It is not required by any way. When you're in higher level maths, you will just automatically memorize it because you use them so frequently. But you don't have to memorize them. They're just useful things to know.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, like, like on our test, what would be like an example of like a problem we have, like a question?
That's a good question. It would say, is this triangle a right triangle? And give you 3 side lengths. This is an example of a question. When you turn the page, find the hypotenuse, find the leg, find a side and write it in simplest radical form. Read these word problems, use the Pythagorean theorem to solve it. Those are all test questions. That's why we take notes on them. That's why you redo it this year. Alright, so if you want to verify if something is a right triangle, first we have to label the legs and the hypotenuse. Remember, the legs make up the right angle, or the possible right angle, and the hypotenuse is the longest side. 13 is your biggest number. That's how we know it's C. Does it matter which one A and B is after I find C? No, because you add them together anyway. So, write down the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Plug in your numbers. A is 5, so 5 squared. B is 12, so 12 squared. C is 13, so 13 squared. Now, 5 squared is not 5 times 2. What is 5 squared? 5 times 5. Plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. What is 25 plus 144? 169, and that's the same as 13 squared. We plugged the numbers into the Pythagorean theorem, and we got the same number on both sides. Is that a true statement? Yes. It is a right triangle because when you plug things into the Pythagorean theorem, it's true.
Will you ever get something that's not?
You might get something that's not, and if you do, then it's not a right triangle. It just kind of looks like one. Well, so try this one. This looks like a right triangle. It definitely looks like this is a right angle. So label your sides, plug them in, check it.
Wait, does it matter which legs A and B?
No. So show that this is the longest side across from the right angle. When you're using a calculator, your square button is 2 buttons above the 8. It says x squared. You do 3.6 and hit the x squared. That tells you what 3.6 squared is.
Oh my gosh.
It's false.
It's false.
So this is false. Those sides are not equal. What does that mean about this triangle?
Not a right angle triangle.
Okay.
It is
A
opposite.
right angle, not.
It is a different type of
If it is a right triangle, then the Pythagorean theorem is true. If it is not a right triangle, you'll get different numbers when you plug it in.
We did all that work for nothing.
Not for nothing, so we know for a fact that the Pythagorean Theorem is not true, and you cannot use SOHCAHTOA when you're in trigonometry.
What? 10 minutes.
What is that?
Oh, my 10 minutes.
What is SOHCAHTOA and trigonometry?
Ooh, maybe we'll do it later.
Wait, do we have return first?
It's for these buttons on your calculator.
Why will we need to know whether a triangle is a right triangle if it's not a right triangle?
Why will we need to know what trigonometry?
Right now, so we get to do a great on the test.
I just don't know.
Thanks, Max.
You can put ads on your video now.
I should. All right.
Yes, you should.
Next question. Using the Pythagorean Theorem to find the length of the hypotenuse. So, we are missing this side. It does not have a number on it. What should I label that?
C.
C, because it's the longest side across from the right angle. 11.3 looks pretty long, but this is the longest side because it's across from the right angle. When they put this right angle sign, it's saying this is a right triangle. Sometimes on your activities, I forget that little mark. Assume everything's a right triangle.
We have a question.
What little mark?
I got the answer.
This little mark.
Test is always going to give us the steps of what's doing.
No. It will not always give you the steps. So first we label the triangle. Make sure you label the hypotenuse C. The other ones don't matter.
Wait, so it's fine. Asking us to find the length of the hypotenuse will automatically be a right triangle?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Label A, B, and C. It does not matter if you do A or B. We can switch it. We can label this B. We can label this A. It doesn't matter. You will get the same thing because once you get A and B and square them, you add them together anyway. So addition is commutative. It doesn't matter which order you add in. It matters where C is. That one's important. So we have 11.3 squared plus 4.3 squared equals C squared. 11.3 squared is 127.3. 0.69 plus 4.3 squared. Add them together. And how do I get C by itself? Because I don't want to know what C squared is. I want to know what C is. Perfect. In your calculator, 146.18, the opposite of squaring something, is the button right next to it, the square root. Hit that one time, you get 12.09 equals C. This says round to the nearest tenth, so we'll write 12.1.
I was tracking all of
It will usually say round to the nearest tenth, round to the nearest hundredth, or simplest radical form. If it doesn't tell you how to round to the nearest tenth or hundred, either one will be okay. Yes?
On a test, do you have to write the formula like A squared plus B squared?
Make sure you work that. Okay.
Lame.
714 and this missing side. What should I label that missing side?
C.
B.
No.
B or B?
Why not C?
Because it's not the longest one.
Not the hypotenuse. We got to label that one C. So the other ones can be A or B. It does not matter. You can have A as your missing side, or you could write B as your missing side. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
Write the formula so we get practice and we remember A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
Kevin Hart didn't get this. Why do I have to?
Plug in the numbers. A squared plus 7 squared equals 14 squared. Now, last class said right away A is 7. Why is that wrong?
Because you have to quit.
It don't look because 9 is not equal 196. Not 7.
So we're squaring these. We're not doing A plus 7 and then squaring it. You have to square them first. Also, these sides are not the same. If this side is 7 and this side is 7, it would come up here, and they wouldn't meet to form a triangle because this side is 14. In any triangle, your smaller two sides will add to something bigger than your longest side. It's just a property of triangles. Otherwise, they won't make a triangle.
I'm going to be the one that makes it.
Oh, I don't know why I did that. All right. A squared plus 49 equals 196. You have to square everything first. Subtract 49 from both sides because we need a by itself. This one up here, both of our numbers were on the same side, so we add them up. This one, we have a variable and a number, so we need to subtract it to get the variable by itself. A squared equals 147.
Isn't it like 12.1?
Not divide. What do we do?
Square root.
Square root. 147. The square root is 12.14. Or sorry, 12.
Okay.
Round to the nearest tenth. What is that?
12.1 again.
Okay. These are the same at the tenths place, but this was 12.09, this was 12.12. Like, they're different numbers, it's just because of where you're rounding. That's why rounding's not good. That's why we always do things with fractions. Not yet. Okay, you guys try this one. First one to tell me the right answer, I'll give it candy.
I found the hippopotamus. Is that the right answer?
You have to have the right answer rounded to the right number. What'd you say? 11.4.
What are you doing?
Wow, good for her.
We just started. None of us got the chance.
Try again.
That means she wasn't paying attention while you were talking.
It means she was paying attention because she understood everything.
Yeah! Hold off!
God! She didn't give any of us a chance to solve it.
I'll give you guys another chance, don't worry.
I'm so mad right now. I'm just gonna do the next one.
It's the way to teach it.
Wait, what do we round it like there's no bigger number? Like 2.8.
Don't round it until the end.
Wait, are you still
Can I say the answer for the next one?
Not yet.
No! Don't you dare.
Max, get out of here.
I have the answer.
You weirdo.
Oh,
Max
you're going
is in
too
my
fast.
class. Kind of weird.
I don't comprehend.
Ew, you guys are
You're doing it on your own and checking your answer when you're ready.
What?
Wait, I'm supposed to be doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
No! I do too. I don't care. You're gonna give the rest of us a chance to solve it.
Okay, I'm really proud of you. Good
Oh
job.
my God. She did it.
I'm really sorry that she was so on top of things.
No. I'm sorry that she was not paying attention while you
She
were
was paying attention. I was going too slow for her.
Genius can get that done in like 3 seconds. Albert Einstein himself could not do that.
Albert Einstein was stupid when he was growing up. He was learning all his stuff. He was probably like,
That means I'm not going to be Albert Einstein.
Okay, for those of you who didn't get it super fast, is there anyone who has a question and did not get 11.4?
The next.
wait, this week I haven't even solved it yet.
Relax, you win. You lose.
Wait, what's this? What's this? I can't even find the square root button. Like, I'm so...
Are you kidding me? It's the X with the 2 above it.
Laura, are you struggling?
How'd you get 2.82 and 3.72?
Because if you do 8 squared, it's like a continuous.
Okay, I'm good.
8 square rooted is 2.82. 8 squared is 64. No, Tyler, it's not. No.
6.9.
No.
It is
6.9.
No.
I got it before everybody.
No.
It's 6.9.
No.
I got 6.9.
No. 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 No.
Which one?
Good thing it's the one.
Sounds like everyone needs to pay attention.
There's a number between 1 and 100.
Close.
Close. 1 and 10.
Negative 6.9.
Okay, Okay, so lots of answers being thrown out there. You guys are on the right track. This says find the length of the missing side, which you were all trying to do. Write in simplest radical form. Okay, now let's all think really, really hard and remember September 17th of this year when we learned simplest radical form.
I don't remember.
Last year we did that.
We learned simplest radical form in our real number system unit.
In this class,
I will review it, and then it will all click. So, we are going to set everything up the same. A, B, C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A squared plus 11 squared equals 13 squared. Square everything. A squared plus 121 equals 169. Get A squared by itself. Subtract 121 from both sides. A squared equals 48. Take the square roots of both sides. A equals, this is where you're messing up now. Simplest radical form, you gotta leave it as that square root and simplify. So, here's 48. We have to write all of the prime factors. What are two numbers? What are two numbers that multiply to make 48?
6 and 8.
Okay, 6 times 8. What two numbers make 6? 3 times 2. 3 is prime, 2 is prime. We'll circle them. What two numbers make 8? 4 times 2. 2 is prime. Okay. Now, we're going to rewrite the square root of 48 as a product of prime factors. 3 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And anytime you have a buddy, you'll circle it up. 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2, so I can write it without a square root. 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2, so I'll write it without the square root. 3 does not have a buddy, so you leave it inside the square root. 2 times 2 is 4 times the square root of 3.
6. The answer is 6.
No, we just leave it like this. 4 times the square root of 3.
No one gets it.
No.
It is 6.
Everyone should get like a pet.
Okay, I need everyone to shout. Stop shouting out. If you have a thought, raise your hand, and I will call on you. Katarina?
When we were at A equals 48 squared, how did we
A equals the square root of 48. And then we do simplest radical form because that's what it says in the directions. Cream?
What are we going to use? Why do you do it that way?
Floor? Ewan?
As a legitimate question, why would you use the Pythagorean Theorem?
Okay, look. Let me get through these notes. And then we will discuss this, but I don't want to waste time for people at home who are trying to listen to this and they're probably clicking through because you guys are talking so much. We will go over this later. You guys have one to try on your own? Simplest radical form. Do it on your own. I will do it slowly up here so you can check in if you get stuck. But you are solving this problem by yourself right now. Not yet. I will call on someone for the answer.
Me?
Not yet.
Oh, one time I do.
Got a new band and technology.
I know the answer. Oh, never mind. I know the answer. Oh, I know the answer. It could be one of the two answers. Oh no! Oh, I have to do this.
I know it.
Stupid adding thing.
I finished.
I'm too lazy. I don't want to.
Okay, don't show me yet.
Oh, you have to do the
Not yet.
Radical form.
Okay, I'll just leave it. Trying to get a little fun.
No, you can't wait here because you're going to look at my answer. Sit down.
But I finished.
Sit down.
Actually, look at my feet down the end.
Green, don't really try hard.
Shut up. Leave the kid alone.
How do you simplify that?
I'll put the answer up. But simplify. Prime factorization, circle of buddies.
Yeah, Lord, you know he's making
Exactly.
Lord.
Stay quiet.
Lord.
I think I did this completely wrong.
2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. This part's wrong. You're missing C. 81 plus 169 is not 227. So fix that part.
What is this? I know. Practical problem.
Is this 600?
Am I right? Can I have a candy?
Nope.
That's in my
Please
life.
look at this. You got it right, Lord?
Yeah.
Look at this.
I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Just try and make sense out
You
of
gotta
that
multiply.
question. You're locked out of your house, and somehow you have a ladder at your front door.
That one's good.
I am so confused. Anyone want to help?
You need to take the square root of that. The square root of 25 is 5. That's why you can pull it outside. So 5 on the outside.
Bro, just put the ladder up all the way.
Alright, check your answer. If you do not shout out, I will take hands for the next question to give candy out. But I'm not doing this if we're shouting out. Yes. Okay. Check your answer. Is there anyone who has a question?
Can I call up the answer?
No, we're not on the next one yet.
I wonder.
Okay. These next ones are word problems. You have to read them. But the really nice thing about word problems in this unit is you're always using the Pythagorean Theorem, so you're pretty much always solving them the same way. You just have to draw a picture, and then you'll be able to figure it out. You've just picked up a ground ball at first base, so here you are, and you see the other team's player running towards third base. Oh, sorry. Oh, I never showed you these answers? Okay.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes, Tyler.
Wait, can't you? I have a question.
No, because 1 times 1 is 1, not 2.
I'm putting it in middle school style. I'm sitting on the ground.
Let me get through these, then we'll take questions. So, here's your person running towards third base. How far do you have to throw the ball so you're throwing it from first base to third base to throw this runner out? You now have a right triangle. What is this distance that you're throwing? What does that represent? The longest side, which is C. So use these 90 feet, and C. Set up the Pythagorean Theorem to get your answer. Do not shout out. When you are ready, raise your hand.
Wait, do we have to write in simplest radical form?
No, not in simplest radical form. It doesn't say anything about that.
Laura, can you pass me my calculator? And I even put it for you.
Those are both 90 feet, right?
Yes.
What's A? I can't even, I can't see. I'm blind. This is making me so mad. I'm blind.
Chris, stop. You're going to sit down.
Oh my god.
I like how they call them practical problems too.
Alright, when you give me your answer, round it to the nearest tenth.
Yes.
How many decimal spots is that?
1.
1.
127.3.
Okay, Matt, or Ewing, you don't get the answer.
What?
You don't get to answer. You shout it out. Sit down. Max, what did you get?
127.3.
And what do you put at the end of that? When you're doing word problems, you're not allowed to answer.
FT.
FT for feet. Alright, next one. Yep.
So you're locked at it's not like you're gonna
You're locked out of your house and the only open window is on the second floor. That's crazy. You forgot to lock your window up there, but you locked all the other windows. Sometimes that happens.
that never
And it's 25 feet above ground level. That's so high. You can't scale the side of your house. Good thing you can borrow a ladder from your neighbor who has their house unlocked.
you're gonna calculate
the ladder and see if your neighbor has it.
Where do you go?
There's a bush here. So you have to put your ladder 10 feet away so that it clears the bush. So this can be the start of your ladder. You have to reach this window. So this is how long your ladder has to be minimum. What length of ladder do you need to reach the window?
Can't you just put the ladder to see if it reaches without having to do any math? Exactly.
No, because you did all this math and then you walked a mile to your neighbor's house because they don't have a phone.
That's not your neighbor though.
If you live in the country, it is your neighbor. Sometimes neighbors are far away. And when you get there, you don't have to lug a ladder back to see if it reaches and then be disappointed. No, you don't have a car because you don't have your house keys, which means you don't have your car keys.
These are very.
This is teaching us how to rob houses. Someone's gonna pull up to your house. You're a bad teacher. You're teaching
Look, guys, I did this once before. That's where I came up with this problem. This is my real life. No, you didn't drive. I had to walk a whole mile.
Just to get to the house that's locked.
You just solved the problem for me. Oh, we're ready to answer? Hold on.
You just walk to the store the whole time?
No, I locked my car keys in my house so I couldn't drive to my neighbor's house. I was outside doing some gardening.
Passionate about this.
Steal a car and then...
Laura, what did you get?
26.9 feet.
26.9 feet.
Fight me!
Laura, can I have it?
No!
Yeah.
No!
Yeah.
I worked for this.
That's
No, you
you
didn't.
whispering.
You think you didn't? Shut up, Laura.
Oh! You better smack you, Ewan.
Wait.
That is a really big cone. I wonder how many ads are gonna get on this video.
Laura, if you have certain bushes in your
You
house,
can post it. You're already at 30.
You only have ads if you monetize your account when you have 1,000 subscribers. That's how you get
Okay,
money.
shut
The
down.
ads pay you.
All right, last one.
I'm gonna add
We're almost done. Last one. Bell's about to ring. This is a cone.
Are you gonna upload this?
Yes. This is a cone.
I get 10% of the cut.
When we do our shapes unit, you used to have to be able to find the slant height, but I don't know that we'll have to do that this year. So, in a cone, you have it's like an ice cream cone, part of it's diagonal. Your height is always perpendicular to your base, so right here, this makes a right angle. To find the slant height, you have to use the Pythagorean Theorem.
What is the blue one?
Yes.
Wait, what is that?
Okay, we're not ready yet.
Can I answer?
Not ready yet.
Okay.
What is that letter?
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
What's 11 squared?
11
That
squared.
was 121, right? I think. Is it?
You don't know your doubles?
Shush. I got the answer.
Cream, have a seat. Chris, have a seat. Everyone, hands down.
I give up on life after
We're leaving in 2 minutes. Oh, time
Wait,
flies
I'm
by.
getting
Wait, we're not ready.
But I'm not having fun though.
Actually, no, I am having fun learning.
All right. Nope, hands down. Hands down. Hands down. All right, hand up if you have an answer. All right, Jonathan, what'd you get? 12.1.
I got it right.
Thank you.